another rant, I guess, if we want to call it anything. Um, I don't know if I'm gonna keep calling these rants. They're just more like thoughts that I just want to express. So today's thoughts are gonna be around cheating in video games and just how far feeling a little off too, by the way. Cheating in video games and just how far are these player cheaters are willing to go to cheat in video games, right? So what sparked today's conversation was I follow a Riot Vanguard developer called GamerDoc. You can look him up on Twitter or X, however you refer to it. I believe that's his tag is GamerDoc. You'll know you hit the right person because he's constantly posting about anti-cheat efforts and stuff because he's one of the anti-cheat developers. And in his bio, it will say he is a developer for Riot Vanguard. So for those of you familiar, you know that Riot Vanguard has what the industry considers quite possibly the best anti-cheat in the market. Obviously, it's not perfect. No anti-cheat is perfect, but Riot Vanguard is considered like the gold standard, right? For those of you who don't know, Riot Vanguard has the gold standard of anti-cheats. So GamerDoc is constantly posting, basically speaking with the community about the kind of efforts that he and Riot Vanguard are constantly enforcing and working on and researching to combat cheating. And, he's one of those people who tells it like it is. Cheating is an ongoing problem. It's a cat and mouse game. There's no one size fits all solution. Doesn't matter if you have a kernel level driver. Cheat providers will work to bypass it. So, anti-cheat devs or companies have to constantly up their game. It's a giant back and forth, right? But GamerDog today specifically, he posted some images about that he got from a cheating Discord, basically showing people complaining about how they just installed a particular cheat and they instantly got banned, or how they were told like, oh, this particular cheat was gonna work, and a day later they were banned, right? So, and then there was one particular image that really caught my eye, and it was a person who got banned from cheating who said, I just spent $490 on a DMA cheat, and it was basically instantly detected and it got banned. And I was like, that kind of proved the point that I've been stating for a while now, because one of the things people like to say when it comes to cheating and preventing cheaters is, we need to stop making free to play games. We got to start charging for the games. And for me, it's like, no, because if you know anything about cheat providers, and you can Google this, none of this is like hidden information. If you look up anything about cheat providers, you look right front and center on all their websites, you see that it's all paid cheats. And I want to say 99% of them, if not all of them, all work on like subscription models. So you have to constantly pay to use and access the cheats. So if people are already willing to constantly pay for the cheat application or whatever it is, paying for a game is not going to stop them, right? Because you could sit there and say, oh, well, if the game is, whatever, $70, are they going to keep paying $70 for the game? Well, if they're already paying upwards of $70 every month for the cheats, pretty sure they're willing to pay $70 for the game. Like I said a second ago, it's like, if this one guy was willing to pay 490 US dollars for a DMA cheat, what makes you think paying for the game is going to be a deterrent for a person like him? It's not, right? So, looking at GamerDoc's post, it was like, If they are able, and I say they, Riot Vanguard, because that's who he works for. If Riot Vanguard is able to stop DMA cheats, then that tells me that other companies are able to stop it as well. They're just choosing not to, right? Because right now, DMA cheats, for those who don't know, DMA is a hardware-based cheat where you use two PCs. The DMA is a chip that you put on like a PCI slot on the one PC. So that's where the cheats are going to run. And then you run the game on your secondary PC so that when that PC gets scanned, it can't detect that device on the PCI slot is a cheat. It'll detect it as like just another peripheral on your PC, right? It'll just see it as like a Wi-Fi card or a mouse or whatever, however they label it, whoever sells the cheats, however they label it, so that the anti-cheat software does the scan and just says, okay, everything looks normal. And then that person now gets into the game and cheats, right? So these cheat providers are getting really clever, but now the companies, the ones who are doing their due diligence, in this case, like Riot Vanguard, they're also studying the market. They're also looking at these things and saying, okay, DMA cheats. Now we gotta do our homework and figure out how DMA cheats are working, and now how we can build detection methods against DMA cheats. And that's what they did, right? That's what GamerDoc is posting about, how, hey, you could go ahead and run your DMA cheats. We're gonna find you because we're proactively working on those solutions. So it's just stunning to me when other companies can't detect blatant cheaters, man. Like, because I don't think Riot Vanguard is doing anything extraordinary beyond just doing the work. They're just doing the work, which is understanding the cat and mouse of it, staying in touch with the community, looking at Reddit posts, probably looking at tweets, probably looking at YouTube videos, and just informing themselves with what's out there as far as like cheats goes, right? Whether it's a program, a hardware ID, bypasser, all that, DMA cheats. They're just staying connected to the market and doing their due diligence. It's like they're investigators. They're literally like investigators, constantly researching what's the next thing, the thieves are using to break into houses. What's the next tool? And it's crazy to me that Riot Vanguard have set the gold standard to this. And then you have other companies that are like, we can't even detect the most basic cheats. Like, they just can't, right? And so as the morning went on, I'm browsing through Twitter, and then I see more posts. Again, now we come full circle to Call of Duty. And I see that a bunch of the people who are considered the best players in Call of Duty, and I say considered the best because these are people who literally went to LAN, to the World Series of Warzone, which that you have to qualify for that. So not only do you have to beat the best players, but then you compete against the best players on LAN. A bunch of them are getting shadow banned, all at the same time today, right? They all got shadow banned, and it's just like, and then again, disclaimer, that doesn't mean that they can't be cheating at home. So I want to be clear about that. Just because you went to LAN, you could be a really good player, and for some reason, they would have to explain it. Maybe you're cheating in your home PC, but you're still so good that you can still qualify for LAN. Two things can be true. So I want to disclaimer that real quick. But there's just so many players that it's not possible that every single one of these people are cheating. Like, it's not possible, because we're talking about a lot. Like, I'm not talking about 2 or 3 or 4 people. I'm talking about, it's in the teens and the 20s at this point. The amount of people getting shadow banned in Call of Duty, all on the same day, mind you. What up, Sav? That you really have to start to wonder, like, what kind of ass backwards anti-cheat is Call of Duty running, where Call of Duty is false shadow banning players Yet Riot Vanguard is not doing that. For some reason, Riot Vanguard is legitimately catching the cheaters, but Call of Duty can't legitimately catch someone who's blatantly spin botting around the map, shooting everybody, and that person doesn't get banned. What kind of hokey anti-cheat system is Call of Duty running? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And to me, it just tells me that I don't even think their anti-cheat is real. I don't think it's real. Honestly, Ricochet, I don't think it's real. And if it is real, it is quite literally the most bottom of the barrel in anti-cheats. Like, it's bad. Like, you're better off, like, if they were offering Ricochet, like if they were licensing it to other companies, like, companies are better off like not using it, right? Like, I think your game would have less cheaters if you didn't use Ricochet than if you used it. Like, as crazy as that sounds. But just that tweet from GamerDoc was just really eye-opening, because it was like, wow, these guys are, I see why they're the gold standard. Like, these guys are covering every angle, and they're just doing the work. And meanwhile, the only thing Call of Duty does, there's only one thing Call of Duty does well, and this is gonna sound crazy. What up, Holy? The only thing Call of Duty does well is brag about the money they make. Because they have a shit game, they have a shit anti-cheat, they have a shit trust factor with their community. And all they do is brag about how much money they make. Notice, however, no other company is behaving that way. Epic, who does Fortnite, they're not bragging about their money. In fact, they're bragging about all the new game modes they're bringing to their game, about how good the game is. They got the first-person ballistic mode, 5v5. It's a search and destroy style. They're bragging about that. They're bragging about their OG mode. They're bragging about their simple edit that they added to the build mode. They're bragging about bringing more first-person modes to Fortnite. You know, what's that game? Delta Force. They're bragging about how good their game is, the fluidity. Today they made an announcement. They banned like 1,000 people. So they're bragging about those things, quality of life improvement. Call of Duty, the only thing they brag about is money. Call of Duty almost seems like they're a government agency. Like, they're supposed to be here representing the people, and they just don't. All we ever hear about is like crazy government spending. It's like that's what Activision is. That's what COD is. This company loves to brag about its money and says nothing about quality of life for the game, nothing about the anti-cheat, nothing about communication with the community, just nothing. I don't know. I just been following a lot of conversations today. You know, like another prominent streamer, he asked like, he posted a clip of Verdansk back in 2019, and then he asked like, yo, what do we think is going to be different with Verdansk if it does drop in March? And, you know, most of the comments were the same, which was like, it's not going to rekindle that fire of Call of Duty, because we're all living off this nostalgia of 2019, 2020, and early 2021 when everybody was in lockdowns. And like, you know, not to sound rude, but I base it on reality. I base it on myself. A lot of players back then just weren't as good at Warzone, right? And I know for myself, like back then, I think the highest KD I ever had in all of Verdansk life cycle was like a 0.76, right? So that's a negative KD. I fell right into that average that Call of Duty says the average COD player has. They say the average is 0.84. So I was literally below average. I was a 0.76 KD player back in Verdansk. But now it's been 4.5 years, right? Now I sit around a 1.92 consistently. That's considered well above average according to Call of Duty metrics. A 1.92 is considered well above average. And I don't even consider myself an above average player. I still consider myself a casual player because I play casually. So a lot of the comments on that post were people saying, yo, people are going to go into Verdansk in March with a false sense of nostalgia. They think they're going to have the same experience they had back when more players were bad and back when everybody was just on lockdowns. And for the most part, people weren't taking the game seriously. Because remember, back then, there were no talks of rank. There were no talks of top 250. There was no talks about any of that. People were just playing Warzone because it was the most popular game at the time and there was nothing else to do. Everybody was home. But it's different now, right? We've seen content creators grow since lockdown. People have made careers out of this. They got sponsorships. A lot of people have made a lot of money. Now we have ranked, we have tournaments. We've had the World Series of Warzone.